Hello and good morning, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Grief Let's Talk About It podcast. And just before we get started, if this is your first time tuning in, do me a favor, head over to the YouTube, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell notification, so you'll be notified every time that we drop a new episode. And before we get started again, I just want to let you know that this is for entertainment purposes only. Today we have an amazing guest. She's a podcast host. We're going to be talking grief today, and she has an amazing story. And if you guys have any questions, please put them in comments. Today's guest, her name is Miss Liz, and she is truly awesome. So I can't wait to dive into this conversation. Please, everybody, help me welcome my next guest, Miss Liz.
Hey, Tony. Welcome to be here.
Yes. Welcome. Thank you for being on the show. I know it's what time is it where you at right now?
It's 11:30 a.m.
Oh, let's see, you 2 hours ahead of me. I'm still on early morning time today.
I'm almost reaching lunchtime there.
I know. Well, it's a pleasure to have you on. And so I just want to take a minute to let you introduce yourself and tell people where you're from.
Oh, I'm from Cornwall, Ontario, Canada, originally from Hearst, Ontario, Canada. That's way up north. So I'm in the southern area now. So I'm the northern girl. I'm used to the cold and all that. So this kind of weather over here is kind of mixing me up a little bit. I'm the everyday woman that is just serving tea, but I'm not serving a beverage. I'm serving teaching educational awareness, and I'm a published author, speaker, advocate. I do it all. So I'm just that woman that wants to make a difference with a cup of tea.
Man, and I'm also going to be on your show as well. So you guys stay tuned for that as well.
Absolutely.
I'm looking forward to this, and I'm also looking forward to our conversation today. We talked, and you have such an amazing journey. So if let's talk about your journey, right? Like before Miss Liz became Miss Liz, who was Miss Liz growing up and becoming who and becoming the woman that she is today.
Well, Miss Liz has always been Miss Liz because my Oma was the one that gave me that name at the age of 4. She just knew that I was going to have a hard life, right? She knew there was going to be a lot of struggles and that, and she just gave me that cup of tea of life at the age of 4. But I didn't really understand that tea until I got older,
Yeah.
because of the words that she gave me at the age of 4. It was she wanted me to sit, reflect, recharge, and release, and I was just like, what the heck is this? Like, these are all big words for a little 4-year-old,
Right.
right? You don't understand, you don't process. And as I got older, I realized that my grandma was telling me that I would be okay. I would be strong. And all of my grandmas in my life have given me uh, that resilience to just keep going, no matter what goes on, just keep pushing, right?
Right.
Uh, And as a little girl, I was abused, I was neglected, I was put in psychiatric wards because of speaking against my family because they were hurting me. I was that black sheep. And as I got older, I wanted that voice and I wanted to speak. So I started sharing my stories in books and speaking and stuff like that. And the journey's just been a really good, strong flow of tea. And when I speak of tea, I speak of, life.
Right.
We all have our different flavors and blends. We all go through things. We all go through our struggles, our grief, our loss, and we serve it in a different way, right? It changes
It
us.
does.
It doesn't it doesn't make us a different person. It just changes the way we look at things, the way that we process things. And that's what grief has really taught me is just I'm still here with you. That's what my loved ones are telling me, but you got to go on in a different way. You know,
Yes.
you you're not changing who you are as an individual. You're just going to have to process things differently now. Instead of getting, like we said before we went live, Tony, my grandma passed in November, my last grandma, and she was my hero. And it was a lot for me to process because when I got told that she was passing away, I was just going live on an interview and it was a lot to process. I had to pull myself together and just do the interview and then have that moment of, oh my God, this is real. She's gone.
Right.
Uh, you know, so in life we get told things and it takes us onto a loop. and it's how we process it. And I think my grandma's gave me that, that moment of processing.
Yeah.
You know, usually when you're told someone's passing, it's a shock, right? It's, what did I just hear? What was that? And that's kind of what tea is, right? When I ask people, what is your tea? It's, what did you just ask me? What? It,
No,
she wants me to tell you what kind of tea. I don't even drink tea. It isn't even about a beverage. It's the way we process things and how we serve in life. And that's what I do, is I just make people look at themselves within. And that's what my grandmas have taught me, to look within,
right.
to process things a little different than other people may process. And that's okay. You know, my siblings process things a little different than I do, and I process things different than they do. So, and we're still okay. We're still people, right? We're still human beings. So,
And but you was being taught this at a very early age, and you said some key words that that really stood out. Your grandparents knew that you was going to have a hard life, challenging, and things like that. And I look at Miss Liz now, and listening to how you say, you learn how to process life in a different way, right? Uh, um, let's talk about that a little bit, right? You know what I'm saying? Like processing life, because I think we've talked and we've had a great conversation about how life has, can throw you curveballs, but it's all about how you look at it and how you respond to it, because it's easier to react to things, right?
mm-hmm.
It's easy. It's easy to go out there, and I know this. I used to be a reactor before I became a responder, right? You know what I'm saying? And my reaction always was, when I heard something or seen something, was to result back to anger, fight. I need to fight, right?
Yep.
That was my first instinct. You push me into, oh, you're just going to take. Nope, I'm coming to take it back. If I got to hurt, you got to hurt too.
Yep.
And over a period of time, I learned that that wasn't the way, right? Life was giving me something different. And I think you can relate to this when I say this. It taught me to look at life and go, it's here. What are your next steps?
Yeah.
You know, let's talk about how you process life since a little girl. You've gone through it. You abused all of those things, and I can relate to on a different level. But tell me how Miss Liz says all of that, um, as she's walked from a young lady to the lady that she is now.
One thing, Tony, I learned loss at an early age.
Hmm.
I learned loss. And when we talk grief, we're not just talking of people passing. There's
Right.
different types of griefs out there, right? There's the grief of childhood. There's a grief of, parents, pets, jobs, schooling. I lost it all when I was a little girl.
Right.
I lost it at the age of 4. I lost my innocence because I was raped by my uncle. I found grief for a loss of a loved one at the age of 14 when I lost my stillborn daughter. So I got to learn grief at a very young age. I got to learn that it's going to hurt. Life is going to hurt. But do you allow it to hurt you, or do you get up and fight? See, like, Joni, you said you fought. You went on defense. You went like, I'm going to fight you back. You're hurting me. I'm going to hurt you back. Where I was the opposite person was, whatever everyone is giving me, I'm not giving back. So if you want to hurt me, I'm not going to hurt you back. I'm just going to try and understand why you're hurting me. And I grew up for a long time thinking, okay, it's my fault. It's me. I'm the rotten one. I'm that trash that my parents used to say I would be. I wouldn't be anything in life. And now my parents give me that love, and I'm like, ooh, what is this?
Right.
Why didn't you give me this when I was growing up? Well, now you want me to love you because you're saying you love me, and I have a hard time processing that.
Right.
And I go on that defense, and I'm just like, oh, you're making me mad. Why are you doing this now?
Right.
You know? And I have to look within myself and say, you know what? Maybe they just didn't know how to love.
Mm.
Maybe they just never got it. I'm that person that always tries to understand why people hurt each other. And then I realized that they're just rotten people sometimes out there.
It's
You
very
know,
true.
it's like that the rotten tomatoes, right? That you get some good tomatoes and you get some bad ones. And I just learned to process that by the teachings of my elders, of my grandparents. I learned a lot of life lessons from my
Right.
grandparents. They gave me a lot of lessons, like when we were piling wood, when we were fishing, when we were cooking. There was always a lesson in it. What is this sugar going to do? What is this piece of wood going to do? There was that conversation with my grandparents, but that conversation was not with my parents. So I got it from the generation before. And it was almost like all of my grandparents in my life knew that I was going to be that child that was going to speak up no matter what. I was that quiet girl growing up,
Mhm.
but then as a woman, they knew that voice was going to come out.
Yeah.
And they knew when it came out, it was going to roar and it wasn't going to back down. It wasn't going to say, you know what? We're not accepting this anymore. I'm old enough now to process it.
Yeah.
Those words that I was given at the age of 4. I wasn't able to process at 4 because I was too young. My mind wasn't ready yet.
Right.
But as I got older, I was able to process and I was able to say, mm, I'm not sure if I like that tea anymore. And that's why I tell everybody, I don't want everybody loving Miss Liz. I don't want everybody loving the tea, because if you are, then I'm not being true and authentic to myself. I'm not being, you know,
Yeah.
I'm being that person of everybody's got to like me. Everybody's got to like my. No, I'm not that kind
Yeah.
of person.
See, I'm right there with you. Like I treat everybody with respect. I learned at an early age. You know what I'm saying? Not everybody's going to like me. And I'm okay
Yep.
with that, right? Um, and it used to always catch me when I used to see other people doing things to be liked by other individuals. I used to always look at them and go, "What are you doing?"
Yeah.
Oh, I
Right.
don't like the fact that he doesn't like me. I need to go over and find out why. And I go, "Why? He doesn't like you." Well, okay, life goes on.
Right.
But you said something that really, you know, that caught my attention. That kind of threw me for a loop. Your first significant loss was at the age of 14 with the stillborn baby. At the age of 14. And now I have to ask, and you don't have to answer this question if you don't want to, right? Was that due to the abuse?
Yeah.
Wow. Because like being a male, I've always had two rules in my life. No matter what happens, you don't hurt women and you don't hurt children.
Yep.
Now, coming from a place to where I understand from a different perspective of being molested, at the age of 6, you know, and having to grow up with that on my shoulders, but I express myself in a different way. Again, reaction, right? You know what
Yep.
I'm saying? At the age of 6, you don't really process what's going on. You just realize that something happened. And
Yep.
I just knew that I didn't like it, right?
Yep.
But the guy was bigger than me, right? What do I do? So I had to think outside the box, like, okay, I don't like this. And I, it was as if I was being fed to him on a silver platter. And finally, I was like, you know what? I'm about to turn this silver platter into a bloody platter. We're not doing this anymore, right? You know what I'm saying? So I think
I
that's
was
really
like that with my husband. Like, after my childhood abuse, it was the domestic abuse. It was just abuse all the time in my life, and I was like,
yeah,
hey,
yeah,
like, what am I doing so wrong that everybody wants to just freaking hurt me? Like, like, enough
yeah,
with this. You know, and I got to that point where it was do or die with my ex-husband. It was, I got to get out of this relationship or I'm going to kill this man, because I was tired of getting up off the ground with him.
mm,
And everybody's seen him as wine and roses, like he was Prince Charming. Oh, he was buying me roses all the time. Do you know why he was buying me roses? Because he was cheating on me. He in guilty conscience. Every time he brought red roses, I was like, okay, who's the next one? Like, what are we doing here? Like, come on,
yeah,
like seriously.
yeah,
It was just at the end, you get to the point where you're like, I don't like this anymore, and I'm going to fight back. It's either it stops or I get out of here,
Yeah.
or someone's going to go down. And I was like, I was starting to turn into a person, Tony, that I didn't want to be.
Mm,
I was that person that was starting to give back what he was giving me.
right.
I was standing up. I was like, okay, if you're gonna knock me down, I'm gonna knock you down too, bud. Like this is, it's battle for battle right now. It's life for life. And my sister, like, I remember one time, Tony, we were walking down the street, and I was just like, he needs to get away from me. And she's like, Liz, like, that's your husband. I was like, I don't care. He needs to get away from me. What he did to me last night, and because my husband would rape me because he had the mentality that he was my husband. He was allowed to do what he wanted. And no is no. I want everyone out there. No is no. If you're married and you tell your husband or your wife no, like, because there are women out there too that are evil,
Oh yeah.
you know,
Oh yeah.
you know, and that's a grief. That's a loss, because when you get married, you're supposed to be expected. You expect to be protected,
Mm, yes.
not to have the battle within your relationship, not to have that, you know, you love me one day and now you're out here trying to kill me. Like, no, that's a grief, you know.
Yes.
For me to get out of my marriage, Tony, it took 4 pastors and my grandmother to finally tell me, do you want to be in a pine box or do you want to live, girl? And that was it. I was out. I was like, my grandma knows something that, you know.
Well, they've been through it.
eh,
They have been
yeah.
through it, right? And I'm pretty much thinking we come from the same generation, the Gen X generation, right? So we have boomers as
Yeah.
parents, you know what I'm saying? We had our grandparents were the generation before them. And it's as if the generation before our parents, we was the experimental ones, right? You know what I'm saying? Especially if you're the oldest one or anything like that, you're the one that got your butt whipped as the parents was trying to figure it out, right?
Oh yeah,
But
you
our
went and picked your stick if you were getting a whipping. Like,
you already know. Look, look, go out there and get that switch off the tree. And then
you're like, oh, is that one gonna hurt? Or
so
and we had the straps in school. Like, when I tell my kids, like, you better behave in school. Well, my kids are adults now, but when they were younger, I was like, you're gonna get the strap, man, if you talk like that. You better watch yourself. And they're like, Mom, the teachers can't strap us. They can't do that. We have rates. And I was like, exactly. We had rates too, but back then we didn't have rates. It was, if you misbehaved, that strap was coming.
the paddle, yeah.
And
and don't let grandparents come up to the school. Oh, you was going to get it, because just as well as I did. If grandparents came up to the school, who was following? Mom and dad,
yeah,
right? You know what I'm saying? Then your aunties and uncles, everybody took a turn, because the thing was, you don't misbehave in school, you respect your teachers, you do your work, you know what I'm saying, and you get good grades, right? This is the way that we was taught. If we misbehave, we got a foot kick put up in our butt, right?
Yeah.
And that contributes to how we move through this life, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, you coming from a place of being married and coming from an abusive relationship, I can relate to that to a certain extent. I was in an abusive relationship, and a lot of people don't think that men would go through abusive relationships. And I tell people, well, that's a bold-faced lie, because I was in a relationship with a narcissist, but before then, right? Like, I had to take responsibility, right? I was never anyone who abused anyone that I was with, any woman that I was with. I just had certain rules. Don't get attached to me. I live a lifestyle where tomorrow's not promised. So I'm not trying to make future plans with you when I can just barely get through the day. So, it was hard for me to let people get close to me, right? And when you spend 20 plus years out of your life, backed into a corner, and all you know how to do is come out and swing, you learn not to go down. And if you did go down, you know how to come back up with something, right? Like my mama used to always tell me, well, if you can't beat them, pick up something and bust them upside the head, right? So I refused. I was like, you know what? You knocked me down. I got a break. Bam.
Yeah. Well, and that's what we do, right? We fight and flight, it's
right.
we have to survive. We find our survival skills. Some of us don't find healthy survival skills, and I think that's why we become who we are, Tony, today, is advocates and voices
Right.
for a difference. And we speak up on the things that hurt us as children because we don't want to see the future generation hurt like we had to.
Right. Well, I think where a lot of that lies too. A lot of times we get to like, and I can only speak from my own experience. When I was in survival mode, I thought that was all that it was, because that was all that I had ever known. Right. Protect myself, protect my sister. Right. Making sure that no one hurts her, and no one's going to hurt me neither. And I didn't know that there was another side of life. I really didn't know that people didn't have to live that way, right? That, saying that there was a such thing as not surviving, but living and thriving and things like that. I didn't learn that till I was in my 30s. And then when you live a life like that, because, just like yourself, the black sheep of the family, right? When I left home, I made a vow that, I wasn't going to run home. Whatever I got myself into, I was going to get out. And I had to be, and I ate those words. I really ate those words. Now, I did stay true to not running home. But my God, from the age of 17 up until I was in my early 30s, I had been homeless, 16, 17 times already, right? I had been shot. I had been in prison for 5 years for a crime I never committed. I mean, it was continuously one thing after another, loss, watching friends die, watching friends overdose, watching friends commit suicide. Hell, I even wanted to do it myself, right? Being beat up by the police, because those was the only ones that really got me. Everybody else, I was like, oh, you fair game, right? You fair game. You're not the police, but I can fight you. With the police, it's just too many things. I did learn how to fight them too. They didn't like it, so they doubled down on what they did to me, right? But that walk itself, see, I was so used to being alone and reacting to life, that I missed so many great opportunities. I was so used to being in toxic relationships that I didn't know what a healthy relationship was, right? These are things I had to learn. And, going back to what you said, sometimes people don't understand that there's another side to it because they're so used to what they're doing or how life is treating them that they think that is the norm. And it's hard to look out and look past that, right? Because you're surrounded by people that are trapped in the same environment, right, that you're in. That, it's nothing to get up and come out on your porch. Oh man, what's going on? Let's crack open that 40. Oh man, let's roll up that blunt and things like that, right? And these are day-to-day things. Until, it took me meeting a really good friend of mine. And I love to fish. So I love that you said, going fishing and things like that. I love to fish. And this is where I used to find my solitude, to go and think, because I was going through an abusive relationship or abusive breakup, and I met this guy out fishing, him and my other buddy, rest his soul. He passed away from cancer, my buddy Dan. And that's when I realized that there was people out here that didn't go through these things, right? And I thought it was strange.
Yeah, right?
I thought it was strange. I was like,
you're like, what? That you had a good childhood? What you talking about?
You go home to your family, right? You know what I'm saying? You got it. What? Your wife? Huh? Oh, I need to see this, right? You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And for the first time in my life, people treated me like a person and not as if I was going to do something bad to them, because I was good at playing the villain. Yeah. If you treat me like I'm gonna do something bad to you, I'm about to make your worst dreams come true. I'm about to rob you, all kinds of things, right? Now, two wrongs don't make it right. You know what I'm saying? It's a reaction to what was going on. I'm gonna play the stereotype. You know what I'm saying? You've already judged me. I might as well go ahead and let that play on out. I was wrong. I can admit that there was a lot of things that I had to be accountable for as I maneuvered and found these things out. But lo and behold, my best friend Chris, he was like, "Man, you want to go fishing again?" Oh, huh? What? I'll come pick you up. What do you mean you come pick me up? Hold on? What do you mean
Yeah.
you'll come pick me up? What do you want from me? No, man.
Right, right.
Your goals,
Right,
right?
right
You
into that mode of anything that came good to us was, what do you want?
know,
How are you going to hurt me later? What
yeah.
do I owe you later? You
Yeah,
know?
what are you setting me up for, right? You know, and you know just as well as I do when people and people teach us to be that way,
Yep.
right? Because when they come and go, oh, remember that time when I bought you that shirt? You know what I'm saying? That cost me 50 some dollars. I'm gonna need you to do something for me, right? You know what I'm
Yep.
saying? So I got to a point to where when people go, hey man, like let me get you. No, man, no.
Yep.
Don't give me anything, right? Because I don't want to feel like I owe you. You know what I'm saying? And then you coming to me talking about this. I don't want to feel like I owe you, man. You know
Yep.
what I'm saying? When it came down to women, like, oh, I want to, you know what I'm saying, be a part of. What do you need from me? What do you
Yeah.
what do you mean that you want me to quit this over here? What are you trying to do to me? And I've ruined some really good relationships because I realized that I was the toxic one,
Yep.
right? You know what I'm saying? They were trying, I didn't know what it was like to receive love when everything that I knew as love hurt.
Yep.
I knew that love would get you killed, right? Love would hurt you. So I avoided it at all costs. No, I'm a solo dude. You know what I'm saying? You let me walk my path,
Yep.
right? You know what I'm saying? I'll figure this thing out, but I don't need you coming into my life trying to tell me what to do and what not to do. I'm a street guy, you know what I'm saying? And
Yep.
I heard a lot of people, and I'm guilty of those things. I became the thing the thing that I hated the most, which was, you know what I'm saying? I'm even though I didn't see it then, I was using women for, you know what I'm saying, for promiscuity.
Yep.
Right. You know what I'm saying? Because I was good at it. I was like, what? You're going to give it to me? All right. So what? Right.
Yeah.
Uh,
You became that player, right? Like,
yeah.
come
You
on
know,
over here. Yeah, I'll give you what
we
you want.
don't play, but it took a long time to learn that that wasn't a way to do it. It
Yep.
took a long time to learn how
But
to
we
love.
burn a lot of bridges by being raised that way, Tony,
Right. Right.
and a lot of good opportunities because we don't feel that we deserve it. It took me a long time. If you look back at Miss Liz 7 years ago, I was not the voice I am today. I
Right.
was not that woman that was saying, "Yeah, let me try this." I was that woman. Oh, this scares me. I'm not. I'm going away, man. I'm gonna owe these people too much. No, no. I'm out of here. Where I got to the point where I was like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa." That's what they want me to do. They want me to stay down. They want me to always be on defense, on guard, and that. And now I'm like, let's try it. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, oh well, it's life,
Yeah.
you know? But I don't want to live with that regret that I got to lose that opportunity because I was a chicken shit because of these people that raised me, that gave me this belief that I could be nothing. You know, I became this voice and said, you know what? You might have said I was going to be that, but guess what? I'm not that because I defined who I am.
Exactly.
I survived the way that I survive. And if it's not your cup of tea, oh well, go serve your own cup. Like,
Right. Go get your own cup of tea. Right. You know what I'm saying? Or whatever you want to
like,
drink. Whatever you
go
want
do
to
your
drink.
own blends, go do your own flavors. You know, if everybody wanted to serve it the same cup of tea, go do that at a different table because that's not what I do. I don't serve the same cup of tea at my table. I serve what I feel, what I'm going through, the emotions. You know, Tony, I live with mental health and I'm a roller coaster, and I don't try to be because I'm a leader and a speaker and an advocate that this woman that has it all together. I don't have it all together. I'm learning and growing with my guest. I learn so much with my guests when I have them on my podcast, Tony. Just like today's interview, like
Yeah.
I learned so much from you because it's that flight or fright, right? You know, if you don't fight for your life, how can you be happy with your life if you're not fighting for yourself? You know, you're fighting against everybody else, but then if you're not fighting for yourself, then what are you really doing? You know,
I think
and And that's where I get it, like from you, Tony. Like, like we just burn a lot of bridges because of what we've been through.
Right. And what happens is, and this is something that I learned, you know, as I began to maneuver through this life, began to sit with older people, and I used to really pay attention to them because, I'm saying, the elderly carry stories and wisdom that we don't necessarily have, and maybe those things can help you avoid some of the mistakes that they've made, right? You know what I'm saying? Because that's the reason why we sit down with them. They're great storytellers,
Yeah.
right? And the strongest lesson that I learned, and I had to figure out the other part of it, a little bit later on in life. But we, as human beings, we play three roles in our life, right? And it's a continuous circle, right? You know what I'm saying? We either play the villain, we either play the superhero, or we play the victim. These are the three things, and people never even realize it, right? You know what I'm saying? Because at some point, you're the villain, because as someone hurts you, you come back and go, you know what? I'm gonna do the same thing to you, and I'm gonna do it to other people because I'm not gonna allow no one else to do it. Now you become the villain, right?
Yep.
And then saying, you become the superhero when you realize, you know what, no one's coming to save me, but maybe I can help the next person. Maybe I can, you know what I'm saying, help this kid not make the same mistakes that I do, right? You know what I'm saying? And then we become the victim, because at some point, you know what I'm saying, when it comes back around, that vicious circle, the only things that change is the people that are entered into our lives again, right? You know what I'm saying? And it's wash, rinse, and repeat. Wash, rinse, and repeat. We keep doing these things over and over and over and over again, and not realizing, because it becomes normalized, right? But there's something that I found out, and I think, and let me know what you think about this. The other part is the observer.
Yes.
Where you begin to realize this pattern. It takes you saying, I need something different, but I need to figure out what's going on in my life so I can have something different. And you step outside of there and you begin to go, wow, this is the definition of insanity. Doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. And now you observe. But not only are you observing your life, but you're observing other people's lives, and you see the same pattern. You see how, you know what I'm saying, it's transferred to other people, you know what I'm saying, and how, and how everything is connected in that different way. When you become the observer, you can now intervene and go, nope, I'm not going to be the victim. Nope, I'm not going to be the villain. Nor do I want to play the superhero, because I'm no one superhero, right? I'm my own superhero, because it was me that had to come in and say, hey, you know what, man? Let's get this together, right? You know what I'm saying? That we have to change our whole mindset. We have to begin to maneuver a little bit different. And that means that you have to remove people out of your life. As you say, Miss Liz, you have to serve a different sort of tea, right? You know what I'm saying? Because maybe the tea that I'm drinking, maybe I don't like the flavor of that no more. You know what I'm saying? Maybe I need something different. It's a teachable moment. Maybe it's time to look at the challenges for what they are, teachable moments, and not things that are meant to destroy you. Maybe it's time to look at your life and go, it's time to forgive yourself, right? Maybe it's just time to make a few changes around if you want something different, And I talked to Miss Liz today, and and I have a question, and please, if you don't want to answer, you don't have to, right? But
I'm very transparent. I don't think there's anything that I won't share. When I first started speaking, there was things I was like, oh, I'm not answering that. But I've gotten to a point, if I cannot answer, I'm going to be honest about it and say, you know what, I can't give you an answer for that. I don't even know myself, right? So,
well, we talk about our lives and things like that, and how many losses have you endured during your journey in life? Because we've talked, right? You know what I'm saying? I know you have a multitude of losses that you've had to overcome, even with your recent one. how many in total do you think that you've had to overcome that really impacted your journey?
My journey would have to be my grandparents, my grandma, my grandpa, my oma that gave me my tea. Uh, you know, but my greatest, hardest life was my daughter, Ashley, who I lost at the age of 14. Because every time I spoke of her, I was put into a psychiatric ward because I was losing my mind. I was talking about a child that never existed. I would, just trying to get attention. And for 30 years until my father passed, I could not speak of this kid because if I spoke of her, I was getting locked up. I was getting shock treatment. I was put in straitjackets. I was given medicine to silence me. And I was like, what is going on? Why? But this baby does exist. Why do you guys want her to just go away? You know? And, and I would be like, why are you trying to silence me? Right. And then it was the loss of my living children. They had to go into foster care because of domestic violence for safety reasons, and that was hard. Uh, losing people that pass is hard, but losing living, I find harder, Tony.
Yeah.
The disconnection between me and my children, I spent it with them with Christmas and that, and my youngest is in another province now on a work job, and but I'm no longer mom. I'm no longer the person they can come to because they were raised by other people. So I'm kind of that stranger to them, right? Don't get close to mom. Mom's the bad one, you know. And it's going to take a lifetime of healing for all of us to understand what actually was the reason behind that and why we lost those moments. Now my adult children are saying, "Oh, now I get it. Now I get why mom had to do that." You know,
Mm-hmm.
because it was easier for me to run and hide and go into shelters than to have my children move every 6 months because of some sick man. You know, and my family to this day still talks to my ex-husband and says, "Oh, I know she's a really crazy woman, right? She did all this to you." I and I'm thinking, "Whoa, you guys don't even have it. You don't even have the story. Like you don't even get it."
Right.
You know.
Right.
Um, but I think the biggest loss for me, Tony, was my children. Was the loss of Ashley and the loss of my three living children. You know, and my kids sometimes even today they're like, "Mom, we're right here," and I'm like, "You're here, but you're not here. You're not the children I had before you went into care. You were raised differently. You were taught different patterns, different cycles, uh, different ways of treating people. You know, so you're not here." And a lot of people are like, "But your children are here. You should just be happy your kids are here." Unless you live it, you don't understand it, you
Yes.
know?
And that one
And I tell that
touched
to,
me. Yeah.
right, Tony? And I say, if you don't live it, don't speak it because you're doing more damage.
Yeah.
It's like we both have been abused as children. Don't come to us with a perfect childhood and say, "Oh, it was because you guys were bad kids." That's not why we were children.
Yeah.
We didn't do anything wrong. We lost our innocence and we lost our childhoods because somebody older than us was broken, unhealed, on the defense mode. They were doing that triangle, you know where we grew up because of what we lived, Tony. We became these observers and we were like, the only one we got to heal and serve is ourselves.
Yes. Yes.
We're the ones has to be that superhero to ourselves, not others, ourselves. And I tell this to my kids all the time, because they said when I wrote in my second book, I wrote the loss of my children, and my kids were like, "Oh, mom, it wasn't that bad. It wasn't." That's my story to tell.
Right.
Your story will be your story, and mom will respect it. You can write what you feel and what you went through, but this is what mom went through,
Right.
you know? And I said, I don't write to hurt, I write to heal.
Mm.
I don't share my stories to make money. I write my stories for somebody out there that might not know how to get out of it or know why they feel this way. When they read my story and they hear my stories, they can say, "Oh, she gets it." And that's what I do when I bring guests to my table is I say, "I get it. You have a story. Do I understand your story? I might not understand it, but I'm going to give you that listening ear and I'm going to give you that time to share it."
Right.
And that's what we have to do, right? We're that observers. We become observers, we become host. We want to host you so you can serve, so you can get out of that triangle and you can become that circle.
But also, I want to add to that as well, right? Yes, we become observers and we become hosts, but we also become visitors, right?
Yes.
We become visitors in your space. And I always tell people this when, especially people that I train to be able to walk along these paths with other individuals like ourselves, right? How to be the best visitor in that space. Because when a person invites you in, and especially when they invite you into that trauma, into that grief area, they're already in a vulnerable situation. A lot of times what people would do would try to busy themselves, would try to be the best host to you,
Yep.
right? After they've invited you. I said, no, check it out. I get that. But right now, I'm a visitor in your space. So let me take care of you so you don't have to worry your mind or hurry yourself in your own space. So let me cater to you. Can I get you something to drink? I don't. If I'm in your house, can I get you something to drink? Would you like something to eat? Is what would you like to eat? I will go make your sandwich. You know what I'm saying? And we'll have a great conversation. Is there any sort of music that you would like to listen to? Is there a movie? Because I'm here now, right? You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And I want to make sure that I'm honoring you in this space because I don't need the less movement that you do, the more you get to calm down. The more you calm down, the more susceptible you are to open up to me to help guide me to where you need me to be in these moments with you, right? And I think when I talk with Miss Liz, I get that same energy. Like, hey, we here with you, right? You know what I'm saying? You let me know what you need, so therefore I can be more effective in the area where you called me to be in. And you're right. You said something that you know a lot of people really look don't really understand the depthness of it, the healing aspect, right? You know what I'm
Yep.
saying? We've been hurt by people who wasn't healed, that wasn't told that what they were doing was wrong, right? And we blamed them for the things that was going on, but no one ever corrected them because hey, you know what I'm saying? I know
And
family,
they might never correct them. They might never apologize. And
right.
that's where and that's where we have to get our healing from, Tony, is that,
Mhm.
when people say, well, you never forgave I forgave everyone a long time ago, because if I wouldn't have forgave all of you guys for hurting me, I would not be where I am today.
Exactly. Exactly. And you have to heal, right? And that's painful,
Yep.
right? That's painful because now you have to remember everything that got you to where you are. And I think that's where people really back up at, right? You know what I'm
Yep.
saying? Whoa, I don't want to and then so and I've seen the pattern, the pattern that goes along with it, the addiction, you know what I'm saying, the mental health issues, the depression, extreme depression and anxiety, the panic attacks, all of these different things to escape the reality, right? And it takes individuals who can see and go, I see you, right? Throughout all of these things, and I'm gonna do something that no one else has have ever done for you. I'm gonna love on you. I'm gonna speak life into you. I'm gonna uplift you. And yes, you're gonna fight it because it's something that you're not used to.
Yep.
But I guarantee you, when as much as you fight, I'm still gonna be here. Throw every punch that you need. I'll block most of them, and some of them may connect. but I'm not going to get mad at you because I used to be you.
Yep.
Right. You know what I'm saying? We become the versions of ourselves that we needed when we were kids and growing up, and you know what I'm saying, not understanding how the world worked, but you having a magnificent mind, you begin to look at it and go, why? Right. Whereas I went, nope, I'm gonna get you first, right? And I can relate to what you said about your children, right? Because I have two daughters. My youngest daughter, well, my oldest daughter, hadn't seen her since she was 6 months old. She's already 37 years old, right? Um, and people go, well, you was a deadbeat dad. Yes, you're absolutely right. And here's the reason, right? You know what I'm saying? There's no excuse, but my life was not a place for no child.
Yep.
I barely survived. And then I messed around and made a mistake and had a younger daughter, right? You know what I'm saying? And I raised her until she was 2 years old. They were like, well, what happened? Well, I was shot 22 times when I was taking her to daycare. I was doing my due diligence, and I got put out, you know what I'm saying, almost put down, protecting her, you know what I'm saying, and trying to make sure that, you know what I'm saying, I'm surviving this life. And I realized right then and there, my life is no place for no child. I've done a lot of wrong, and you know what I'm saying, karma's going to come back and bite me in the butt. So before I allow someone else to hurt my children, I would rather make the sacrifice and let them go have a life to where it could be a lot better than anything that I could ever provide for them. And yes, it hurt, and it turned me into a monster into this world because I was hurting. And as what's that old saying, Miss Liz? Hurt people.
Yep.
But I became really good at hurting people. Right? I didn't realize it, but there was a whole lot that I had to go back and go, can you forgive me for what I've done, for what I did to you? I was not who I am.
And we have to be okay with them not being okay with accepting it. You
Oh
know,
yeah.
like my children have come to me with, I mean, the hardest words, and I'm just like, oh, this hurts. This hurts. But I'm not gonna give back hurt to you guys because you're hurting. Mom is gonna sacrifice her pain, and I'm just gonna step back.
Mm.
I'm just gonna sacrifice. Like you use that word sacrifice, and I use this word a lot when I speak, either in my post or in books. The sacrifice of a parent. You
Yes.
know, when we weren't given parents, how the heck do you want us to be a parent?
What
You know, that was the biggest thing I told my kids. How did you want mom to be a mom when I never had a mom?
right.
I never had the lessons of being a mom. So I'm coming here blindfolded and trying to do the best I can, but I'm trying to give you something that I didn't get.
Mm.
And it's confusing the heck out of me. I'm loving my kids. I didn't get love from my parents. You know, I got, no, get out of here, go play, go, be seen, not heard, you know, all of those things. And I'm this mom that just wants to love on my kids, and I'm around all of this dysfunction, raising my kids. And my parents are looking at me, oh well, they just need to toughen up. No, they need a hug. They need some love. Like, okay, you guys didn't give it to me. That doesn't mean that I can't give it to them. Like, enough, you know? And I think that's what it was for me. It was just confusion because I wanted to do different all my life since I was a little girl.
Mhm.
I wanted to be that different person. That when I was around my family, I was confusing them.
Yeah.
How dare I give my children love? And my parents are feeling all this. I'm not sure what they're feeling because I can't speak for them. They can only speak for themselves. And my dad's gone, so he can only speak for himself up there. You know, but I learned at a young age from my grandparents
Mhm.
that it was going to be hard and that I was going to be different and that I was not going to be accepted. And that's why I'm okay with people not accepting me today.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I'm more comfortable with somebody saying, you know what, Mrs. I don't like you. I think you're full of crap. I think you're this imposter. You're faking it to make it. Okay, that's your opinion of me. That doesn't change who I am.
Exactly.
Believe what you want to believe. I'm coming and telling you how I was raised, how I felt, how I survived, how I'm healing.
Hmm.
It might not be what you want to see, but guess what? That's what I do. I do me. I don't do what everyone else is doing. I don't serve what everyone else is serving. I serve what makes me live. You know, like you said at the beginning of the show, surviving and living. There's a big difference.
Right.
For 40 years, I survived. For the last 9 years, I've been living. And a lot of people are like, what is this woman doing?
Yeah.
Because they were so used to the surviving Liz that they're not used to the living Liz, you know?
Yeah.
And they'll get to it when they're ready to get to it. And if they don't get to it, well, that's their issue. That's their cup to serve. I'm not here to tell them how to live their lives or how to serve or how to survive. I'm just doing what I can, you know. And grief has really taught me how to live, not survive. You know, we survive in grief when we're hurting and when we're hurting others.
Yeah.
But we live when we understand that loss will happen to all of us. Not one of us out here in the world. It doesn't matter what race, what color, what you know, uh, what culture we're raised in. We're all gonna lose somebody. We're all gonna grieve. We're all gonna hurt. We're all gonna survive at one point in our life. But we're also gonna live when we start to heal. When we get out of that triangle, you know, and we go into the circle. A lot of people say, Miss Liz, you live in the past. You live in no, I speak of the past. I don't live in the past.
Yeah.
There's a big
Yeah.
difference. I write of the past. I don't live in the past.
Yes. And when people understand that, right? Like we talk of the past so people don't have to make the same mistakes that we did. Maybe the things that we talk about from our past and how we dealt with these things can become your survival guide, right? You know what I'm saying? But we don't live there, because if we lived there, our conversation would be totally different. Maybe the person
Oh yeah.
that you get may not be the version that you want, right? You know what I'm saying? Because the past, the one that lived in the past was not the type of person, you know what I'm saying, that you wanted
Yeah.
around you. Because I was real quick to react and not respond. And life has taught us, right? You know what I'm saying? Taught us how to move, and taught us how to sit and breathe and have patience and grace with ourselves. You know what I'm saying? To look at life in a different perspective and go, you know what? I got this.
Yep.
And to look at other people and maybe give them a piece of us that they can hold on to, that they can develop their own thoughts and beliefs and things like that, right? And I think that's what makes us effective in this area that we speak of, and that we walk through with such grace. And you know what I'm saying? It's such strength, right? It's such beauty, because it's the light that we have that radiates into the world, and your light shines so bright, right? You know what I'm saying? I can only imagine the amount of people that you touch, and the things that you give them in return, because this conversation has been a beautiful one, right? And so as we begin to wrap this thing up, I always ask my guests, if you can leave the audience with something, what would you give them?
My biggest message to all the listeners out there is just be yourself. Serve your cup. Serve what helps you, not what others want from you or expect from you. You know, just be you. The right people will love you, and the wrong people will always be, you know, I tell my kids this all the time, you're going to get judged either way. So you might as well have some fun living, you know, stop living with regrets and just be you, you know, be yourself, be your true, authentic self, you know, uh, and your mindset. When people say, Miss Liz, your mindset needs to change,
Hmm.
my mindset has changed, or I would not be where I am today.
It's
You
very,
know,
very true.
you might come at me and think that my mindset needs to change because there's something that's mirroring within me that's mirroring within you. And that is something you have to work on, not me. I work on me, you work on you. And then we both serve a good, strong cup of tea. Just like me and Tony have done today, is we've sat together, we've had our, shared our stories together. And I appreciate that, Tony, that we got that opportunity, to
Yeah.
share and to grace the audience with hardships and show that we both have a voice today that we didn't have growing up.
Right. And we have a strong voice, right? You know what I'm saying? And I want to answer this question real quick. Paulette, we do have this topic coming up. So just be patient. I just started a new segment called Talk About It Wednesdays. And so we do have it. I'm glad that you brought this up. We do have this topic coming up. So please stay tuned. Please stay tuned. And we're going to have a whole discussion about it. Miss Liz, how can people find you? As a matter of fact, let's talk about your podcast, right? Where can people find your podcast? And then where can people find you on social media?
Well, like I tell everybody, and people think it's a big joke, but I'm just like, if you don't find Miss Liz, you ain't looking for Miss Liz, because Miss Liz is all over. I'm on over 80 platforms for podcasts, apps, and stations. I'm on radio stations. I'm in media releases, press releases. I'm all over. So if you're not looking for Miss Liz and you don't find me, it's because I'm not your cup of tea, and that's okay. But you can find me like on all social media platforms. You can find me on my website at www.misslizsteatimes.com. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, all of those places, Rumble. I try to get on all the different platforms for one reason and one reason only, is because there's different audience, different people, different sources, and different connections for us all to connect the dots. If we stay on one platform and we stay in one room, we don't really grow. We only grow in that one room. And I learned at a young age that we need to travel. We need to connect with people. And I love dot to dot. That's one of my survivals when I was a kid, was dot to dot books. And I wouldn't follow the dots that were in the books, and I would create my own image. So, and you can grab my books on Amazon under Elizabeth Gagno. We just released a book yesterday. I had done my testimony in domestic violence and with the Ruby Girl contest that I entered, and her book was just launched on January 1st, and it's just testimonies in a journal and all that for women out there for domestic violence. You can find that as well on the Ruby Girl page. A big shout out to Karen Dodd for amazing woman. I just want to put it out there. She gave me the opportunity of joining the contest in 2023, and I became the Ruby Girl and the voice for Ruby Girl. And for me, it wasn't a contest. It was an experience, a spiritual journey for myself to show that I was worth it, right, that I could stand up and be that Ruby and shine too. Growing up, I was told I couldn't shine, and I wanted to prove to myself that I could. So that's why I entered that contest. And for me, it wasn't, a competition. It was another table I could sit at, another journey, another spiritual sisterhood that I could connect with. I don't look at things as competitions and comparisons, because we all have our stories, we all have our flavors and blends. So, but again, like I tell everybody, if you don't find me, you're not looking for me, and that's okay.
Well, I'm glad I found you, right? You know what I'm saying? Because, as that song said by Rihanna goes, shine bright like a diamond, right? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And there you are, I am so honored and privileged to have met you and to be able to share this space with you and hear your story and to take us on this beautiful journey. And to sharing your light, such a beautiful, beautiful heart, beautiful mind. And with that being said, Ms. Liz, thank you for being on the show today and sharing your journey, your story, and your wisdom, right? Because that's beautiful, and your strength. And hopefully, with everyone who's been tuning in, you guys got something from this. And be sure to go check out her books. Please, support her. Go check out her YouTube channel. Check out her podcast. Amazing, amazing. team was with Miss Liz. I will be up there very soon, right?
Season 5, January 4th. We started a whole new season. 100 guests. We're serving 100 cups of tea this year. So
now, see, I can't wait. I definitely can't wait. I'm definitely going to support that. If I haven't already, I think I did subscribe to your channel. But if I haven't, I'm definitely going to go over there and do that because I don't want to miss one of your episodes, right?
Well, and you can go back and watch all of the episodes from all seasons. We just did a huge reunion show on December 21st, and we had 17 different countries. We had, I believe, there was 53 people because of Zoom. I don't usually work with Zoom, so we had some little hiccups. We were supposed to have 90 guests, but because it was a webinar, then it went to a meeting because the webinar wasn't showing the cameras for the guests, and I was just like, okay. So I had to skip out of the webinar, go back and do a meeting, and I had lost a couple of people because of the confusion and all of that.
Yeah.
But you can check out all of the guests from all season 4s, and watch them at your own pace.
Yeah.
There's a flavor for everybody out there. If one tea doesn't resonate with you, I'm sure there's going to be another one because there's so many different flavors in there. There's all walks from homeless to Hollywood directors. Like, there's you just never know who's going to come and sit and have tea with Miss Liz. And sometimes Miss Liz is even like, oh, you want to have tea with me? Okay, let's do this. Let's see where it goes. Like, and I also have community members that in my community that have been on Tea Time just to bring awareness to their platforms and their things that they do. So you just never know who's going to sit and have tea with Miss Liz. And Miss Liz is almost booked. I only have 5 slots left for 2024. So if you want to get in, you have to reach Miss Liz, and you can check out Miss Liz's Facebook page, Miss Liz Making a Difference with Tea Facebook page. Check that out, and let's just sit and serve some tea. And if you can't get it to be a guest on Tea Time, you can always join the live shows. Put your comments and questions, suggestions, and we'll try and get it in. And if Miss Liz feels like it, maybe there's a special Tea Time that might pop up. You just never know.
Definitely going to keep my eye out on those as well. For everyone who is tuning in today, thank you for tuning in. Thank you, Paulette, for the comment, and please stay tuned. We will have that topic coming up. Like I said, an amazing guest. This is what they talk about, and this is what they do. It's going to be very educational. Ms. Liz, thank you again for joining me. Thank you again for sharing your beautiful light and story with us as well. And if this is your first time tuning in, do me a favor. Go over to the YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell notification so you'll be notified every time we drop a new episode. But also, if you know anyone who can benefit from these conversations that we have, please share it with them. And until next time, I am Tony Lynch. I'm your host, and this concludes another episode of Grief Let's Talk About It podcast. And until next time, you guys keep your head up. We love you and always appreciate your support. You guys have a great day. Peace.